I got older, I was like, oh, maybe it's like I did JROTC in high school. It's like, maybe it's the Army. And I got in the Army. I'm like, yes, this is good. But this isn't it. Like, this wasn't what I was thinking of. And then did college, got my master's and all that, and then had the kids. And I was like, man, this is even great. Like, everything just kept stacking. And I'm like, it's still there. Like, it's going, but there's still something more. Like, I have not reached it yet.
If you are like me and know that free enterprise is the greatest opportunity in the world, but you also see there are huge issues starting to arise, like why is mentorship decreasing in popularity? Why do entrepreneurs like us who love to succeed see people fail at the top and never leave true significance? And how do people like us make a lasting impact on the world? And is it possible for enough entrepreneurial leaders together to make a real difference? These are the blaring questions, and this podcast is the answer. Journey with me, your host, Christian. Together we will challenge the status quo and conquer our legacies. Hello, thank you so much for tuning in to The Journey with Christian. Guys, we have an incredible woman that we've invited onto our podcast just to share some of the key aspects of obviously, what we talk about, significance, wisdom, and leadership. And guys, she is known for being a customer value creator. She helps businesses connect with the right tools, systems, and people they need to streamline their sales. She's also an Army veteran of 4 years with numerous deployments under her belt, with incredible history of leadership and accomplishment. However, though, her true passion is to help businesses improve their customer retention, devise engagement plans, implementing and executing on customer service systems, and implementing employee programs that help build a stronger corporate culture. She is currently using her skills in TikTok creation and is a well-known influencer in that arena. And she is currently the Chief Operating Officer for Infinite Potential Clothing. So she has incredible credentials and just experience. Ladies and gentlemen, we just want to welcome Heather Hargrove. Heather, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I need you to record my voicemail. That was beautiful.
Well, good. Hey, well, thank you again. We appreciate you being on this podcast. We really look forward to learning from you, just from obviously your leadership skills from the Army, and then as well as your history in corporate America, and then what's your new adventure now. If you don't mind, just obviously I mentioned a few things, but just tell our audience a little bit about you, if you will, Heather.
Oh man, right now my life is pretty much revolving around. I'm a mother of two. I wouldn't say single mother. I do my ex-husband. I am very blessed with a great ex-husband. I'm a great father, so I do co-parent, and I get to enjoy my time, working from home and Starbucks on occasion, but basically just helping to grow Infinite Potential Clothing, trying to get that brand out there, and at the same time be able to help other entrepreneurs kind of step out of their comfort zone and get more comfortable in front of the camera and starting to share their story. And that's where TikTok really started to come into play for me. It was just as a avenue for, getting them to just put the camera up in front of their faces and just posting instead of overthinking it. And that's pretty much it these days. I'm just diving into both of those realms and just trying to see who I can help, grow their business while I grow my business, and just kind of share my journey along the way.
Definitely, and I know it's interesting because we talked about TikTok and that kind of path a little bit. It's interesting, so many people were on the forefront of Instagram and Facebook, and nobody really understood the power of those platforms until obviously, now. And then now we see TikTok, and it's almost like that second opportunity, if you will. And obviously you see the power of it, and we've talked about it briefly. You're spending large amounts of time because you see the impact and the power of it. I'd love to just, obviously get your perspective on, your kind of marketing strategy or your strategy behind getting your message out and utilizing TikTok as a platform.
At first, it was just watching it. It was just trying to figure it out. Luckily, I have a 10-year-old daughter who was originally on Musical.ly. And just in the background for a while would, watch her create some videos and stuff along that line. And then eventually she was like, Mom, just take a look at this. And I was looking at the TikTok. She had me open up one. And originally when I started my company, I was like, how about I hire you and you just be my TikTok manager? You know, you can edit a video and blah, blah. We really didn't do too much of that, but once I started scrolling through the platform, just was able to start searching and seeing like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And that's what really caught my eye. It wasn't necessarily within the same, you know, realm as far as with fashion or with business consulting and, you know, and entrepreneurship. It was more of like photographers and how like a photographer will show you how they're making a photo and then the finished product. And that's just when I was like, this is beautiful. I'm like, this is a beautiful way to tell a story in such an amount of time to keep, you know, the person that's looking at it engaged in what you're doing to the point where they're rewatching it and then they're rewatching it again just to kind of see that and just having that feeling. And then as I've gone through it, you know, at first I try to overthink it, which I think most people tend to do. We all do it. And I was just very hesitant. I was like, okay, well, with what I do for my business, what do I post? You know, like I'm not an artist. I'm not here drawing. I'm not, you know, dancing all over the place, all these different avenues, you know, people that are doing the woodwork and logo design and all these different beautiful things. I was like, how do I take what I do and put that into these videos to start capturing it? And then I just said, you know what? I'm like, I am who I am. I'm Heather Hargrove. You know, no matter what I do business-wise, I feel like when I'm out in the world, I connect better with people face-to-face rather than email sales and stuff along that line. I've always known that. Like, I connect with people. And I just said, let me share my life. And then it became so much easier that way because you're just basically every now and then just opening up a piece of your day and you're just sharing it with the world, and the people that resonate with that are just going to connect with it, and then you just take the relationship from there.
So then would you say, like right now, you know, because I know a lot of people say there's, you know, personal brand and then you got a business brand, you know, would you say that's kind of conglomerate of both that you're kind of pushing forward right now? Because obviously, you know, just getting people to know who you are, or how would you say you're kind of pushing as well a little bit of business content as well? I'm just curious how, you know, kind of the intricacies of it all, if you will.
Well, I think in today's society, it's even hard to separate the two.
Yep.
No matter what, even if you're a salesperson working for somebody else's company, you're still intertwined. You still are, you know, posting about your life and in order to do that social networking that, you know, that we've implemented upon ourselves. Like, we did this to ourselves. We now have to, like, you know, evolve to the fact that it's all together. You know, you are not just what you do. You are a whole person. And I think, you know, bringing that and bringing it together is what really makes it that much more relatable for everybody else. So I do have specific posts that are more business related, yes. We also do have for the clothing brand a whole separate TikTok page because that's more specific as far as that. But I think, you know, just going with it and throughout your day, you're doing your business, plus you have your personal life. It's all going to come together no matter what. Mm-hmm. So if you try to separate it, I think that's where it becomes very difficult because then you're very nitpicky about what you're putting on your page because you want to have it. It's not like Instagram where you're flowing through the story and you have all these pictures and you want it to flow and you want people to land on the page and they're just going to see these still pictures and you need them to understand exactly what you do just by looking at all these photos that you've previously put out there. They're not going through your feed like that. It's not something that's supposed to be so clean and so fresh. They're going to click on a couple of things that might resonate with them, and then there might be a couple other things that don't, and that's perfectly fine because you're not selling on TikTok. You're connecting on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you want to take them to other platforms to then, you know, get that connection even bigger.
And that is very valuable, what you just said, is connecting, because obviously we're seeing a very large change and switch in marketing and in retail and in general. People are not buying just a random product anymore. They're buying the person naturally. And that's what I think is so valuable. And obviously you see that in the connecting of TikTok and that platform.
Oh, definitely. And the funny part is, so even with the finishing up of my holiday shopping, I'm a very local shopper. I like to know who I'm buying my stuff from, or even, if it's in a store, I reach out to some companies via Facebook just to ask them some questions. I like to be I like to pick who I'm purchasing from. I think that it's a very, big thing for me, and I then get to control where I'm spending my money, the people that I'm supporting. So even at a local market that I went to yesterday, I'd previously purchased, some lotions from a local company, and I hit them back up, and I was like, I need some more to take home. Ended up at this little pop-up market, and then found my candle person there because they have these amazing candles. I got to know the husband of the wife that's selling those candles. The price point is cheaper than I would ever get going to Walmart or Walgreens, and it's like you just make those connections with a person that is running those companies, and you hear their story, you know what you're supporting. And for me, that's the avenue that I like to go. So I think I want people to like that about me as well.
And obviously, just from talking a little bit, I think a lot of that you can feel that from you, and I can from our first interaction, I've obviously felt that. That was the first thing that I realized with you is like, what could I do? How can I help? And I thought, wow, this is really cool, because you get so many of these LinkedIn messages and other things that are just salesy, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And that was obviously something that you put a lot of time in, and it's obviously very well known. So let me ask you this, kind of switching a little bit, going from, obviously a little bit of corporate America to running your own business, from the military, throughout life, you've obviously have had bad leaders and you've had good leaders, and you've obviously learned. And I'm just curious, like, what is the most important leadership lesson you've learned, and how has it been proven invaluable, if you will?
It's basically, and I think it had to do mostly with the last company that I was at prior. Like it was across the board as you're going through it. Leadership is there, but they're not really there. Mm-hmm. So you're working under these leaders that you might hear from every now and then, but you really don't know them. You're not making that connection with them. You don't know what's going on behind the business. They want you to sell their company and, their product, but they're not really present throughout the whole process. And that was a really big thing for me, where it was like, hey, we need to see you on social media, and we need you to be putting stuff out there. And I'm just like, but I need you to be out there too. Mm-hmm. Like, I need you to be out there talking about your company, talking about what it is that you do. What do we do? Because although, yes, I am a part of your company, having people know more about your company from you, it's just this whole other connection. So that was what I learned. I just really learned, like, when it comes from that, and then when I started my own company, I used to hide. I would not get in pictures. I would not pick up a camera, do anything. And starting my own company, as soon as I stepped over into that realm, immediately I knew I had to get comfortable talking about my company, my story, what I wanted to do, why I wanted to do it, because without having that connection, it just wasn't going to work. And I think going through each different phase of, different industries, even from the military, like you barely see you see your direct leadership, but the ones higher up making all the decisions, and you're like, well, can't we do this, do that, do that? And they're like, there's no way to discuss any of that. And having that ability to be a leader, and as I bring people on, I want them to still see my face out there, helping them grow, helping them build up. How can I support you as you are here, trying to help my company grow? What can I do to give back to you? Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I think that's so valuable, because it's like, and I've been guilty of it myself, when you get to such an extent where you're, in that higher leadership, if you will, you just start kind of like honing off or slowing down. You're like, you know what, my other team has it. But the biggest asset that you could help your team is you go out there and you do the work as well. That's the best way you can motivate people. So that's kind of, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's and so then let me ask you this, because I was really, if you follow, ladies and gentlemen, if you follow Heather on her LinkedIn page, you kind of see a little bit of her family style and the way she, obviously raises her kids. And I thought that was really intriguing. One of the posts most recently, if you could just describe a little bit about what just a post that you recently pushed out about how you raise your kids, and obviously during this Christmas season and giving back. I just thought that was really neat, and obviously it shows a lot of character around your leadership style as well.
Oh man, there's so many posts about my kids. I'm like, there's just so many. Was it the one about paying them to do good?
Well, I think it was that, but also I think it was you also gave like a basket or something like that, and you said, hey, there's a certain amount of stuff that you have to give, and you guys take it down to. But I think it was also you paid
Yes.
a portion and so forth. Yeah, just.
Yes, it was just kind of so things that I've kind of picked up along the way, and none of these are original, stuff. Like I might mold them to my own, but like I said, I think you'd asked me about it, and I said I pay a lot of attention to everything that goes on around me. That's always been my thing. I'm like a sponge. Mm-hmm. I like to see, what people are doing. I listen to what is going on, and that's why I thrive, working around other people, because I think it's important to kind of see what they do. And little things that I've picked up along the way is, ways to motivate my kids now to raise them in a better way for when they grow up. They're only going to be kids until they're 18. That's such a short amount of time. And then you have these adults that you are then with for the remainder of your life. And I want to set them up in a way to where I'm not treating them like kids now, because I want them to start feeling and growing into themselves and seeing what they are capable of. So some of the simple things that especially when we go to the dentist, if they have no cavities, they get $20. Like nice. Straight up. I would rather pay you $20 for no cavities than whatever it's going to cost for me to get any fillings, teeth work, anything like that. So that gets them, looking forward to brushing their teeth. Yes. And it's something to look forward to. Like my son keeps track of his grades now to the point to where he's, he knows how much money he's going to get for the report card. Like if he's falling short, he's asking for extra credit, a way to turn in extra, whatever he can do, because he knows at the end when he gets his report card, he's going to get paid out. And we have it listed out to where it's a certain amount per A, certain amount per B, certain amount per C. And they know that they're going to receive those funds as a reward for that. Startup funds. My daughter wanted to start selling slime. So I provided the initial startup investment. She did have a plan in place. She knew what she wanted to sell it for, the packaging, all of that. She planned everything. All I had to do was go buy the stuff. And she reimbursed me before she then put her additional earnings into purchase more supplies. So now, mind you, she used to sell slime for 50 cents. This little girl's up to $3.50. So $3.50, she is able to, but she's slowly increasing her pricing until the market tells her that it's no longer good. Yep. And then she'll lower it back down. So this is something she's picked up on her own. The packaging then thus far has improved with the pricing, and she does do pre-orders. So she actually has people that pre-order based on specific slimes that they want, and she makes them custom. She gives them the slime. It's fantastic.
Is it? I'm just curious. Just with that business, is that word of mouth mainly, or is she pushing advertisements out on that?
No, it's basically everybody through school and then door to door. So I do allow my kids. Yes, I do allow my kids. I'm not, the one that keeps them in. I do trust my children. They know the rules. They go in pairs, and the iPhone does have tracking on it, which. Great. But there are a couple neighborhoods in the area that I do allow her to walk around. She does go door to door, and then also if people are walking around, she will carry her sometimes a little basket with slime in it, and then she'll just show them what she has, and then sometimes they'll be like, hey, I need to wait for this person to get home. She will legit come back and set the alarm on her phone to remind her to go back to that house. Yes. Like, she is out there getting it. As far as the online stuff, we're still working on it. She has built up a Wix site, and then she's written 2 blogs on that. And then one day she decided to build up an Etsy site as well to help with the selling. And then we're going to start focusing. I'm going to start teaching her how to kind of promote and market it. We might do a little YouTube channel that she can show how she makes the slime, which is a great draw-in for free advice on how to do that. The give to get. So she likes it. So I'm going to keep letting her go with that until, I even told her for next year, I'm like, if you're still into this, next year I will take you to Funnel Hacker with me, and you can go network and just learn everything that you want.
I bet that would be entrepreneur heaven for her right there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I would be excited, too. I would be the mom walking. I would even let her. I'd be like, for that event, it's all you. Like, I will be behind you. You handle business. I won't even go around. Like, you just do you. Like, I'm here to support what you got going on right now.
Right. It's, and that's what's so interesting. And that's why I just really I appreciate you sharing that, because, again, like you mentioned, it takes intentionality and it takes hard work. I know that you probably get exhausted at the end of the day, and you have to come home and you have to teach your kids this and this, and you have to follow through on your own commitment. So I think that's very honorable that you stayed intentional that long. And of course, like you just said, you have a very short period of time to teach your kids, and then you have a very long time to really live with them. So it's like, you want to make sure that you're doing it right. So that's awesome. So then, and coming back a little bit, I know one of your biggest missions is to help people get it comfortable in front of the video, so that people are just, they are who they are, and I'm just curious, and I know you said you were not that kind of person. I think that's why people can relate to you. You weren't like, I can just pop this on and boom. You had to work through that. And so I'm curious, how did you develop that skill of speaking in front of that video, in front of groups, where you're able to become who you are?
Just doing it. Yeah, it was not easy. Like, even before this, like, I was even more comfortable, like, networking face to face like that. But going back even further, so it's been stages, because I think everybody goes through it. I can't say, hey, go straight to video. No, like, back in the day when I was in college, if I showed up late to class, I wouldn't go in because I didn't want to open the door and have everybody look at me. That's how bad I did not like to get noticed. And then as I was aging, and then, as I had children, and then I realized, hey, I have to get out. Like, my kids need friends. I have to make friends and get out and start meeting people. I started, getting out more into, meetup groups and stuff like that. Not high pressure meeting locations. Everyone's there for a reason, why you're there. And if you make connections, great. If not, you'll still be able to go to another one and try again. It's open to everybody to go. And then I got good at that. And then, within business, I started to go out and, networking and doing that. And then honestly, I just had to jump into just being myself and just letting go in public as a whole. Like, I am walking around, it's weird, if I could have a camera on me the whole day, I am smiles all day. And that confuses people like crazy. Like, when you're smiling at them from the moment they walk out of a door and you connect, and like, I'm just smiling at them, having a great day. Like, most people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they just smile back. Because they're like, okay, I guess we're smiling, it kind of goes together. So, and then even at stores and everything, like standing in line, just making some banter, some, fun conversation. And then, my networking events got better. And then I was able to start, working on the floors at conferences and conventions, and just going around to where the point where I would go up to a business and just sell them on the floor. Like, I would just and I just realized that the face-to-face for me was actually where I was most comfortable, because writing, you start to overthink everything. So I was like, man, this is actually getting easier the more I do it. And then it was then picking up the camera and starting to do that. And the first time I actually did that was I was at a conference, and I was just kind of promoting being at the conference. And I just posted it. I was just sitting there. It took me a couple takes, and I felt weird. I actually sat on the floor hiding at that point, because I didn't want people to see me holding up my camera doing it. Now, like, I would do it in front of anybody, even invite them in for the shoot. It wouldn't even matter. But I hid on the floor, and I did that a couple times, and then I posted it, and then I waited. And then, like, you kind of freak out. You're like, oh my God, what did I do? And then you're like, what if I said something wrong? I didn't do it right. I don't know. Yep. But then I just did it again, and then I did it again. And over time, I just got more and more comfortable. But honestly, it wasn't until recently, like, where the gauge just opened with TikTok. And it was like, I can be crazy and silly, and people are going to just love it. And that's who I am. And I like that I can be who I am. So the business owners that I work with, and that I'm trying to help them out, because I do help them with their, their sales funnels. I'll build those up, and I'm like, okay, now we have this. How do you want to promote this? Like, what do you want to do? Because you could push ads to something all day, but if you're not out there talking about your company, it's not going to do anything. So it's really seeing that step and that point where they're stuck. And I'm just like, we have to find a way to get you over that hump. And one of them, that's a nonprofit that I work with on Facebook, he went on and did Facebook Lives. I was so proud of him. So proud of him. And he's like, Heather, this is great. He's like, I can see why you wanted me to do this. And it's just watching that growth, and I just love it because it's their company and they love it so much, and they want to make it something, and it's just so hard to see it take that next step if you can't get out there yet. So everyone is different. You got to take different steps, but you just got to start, the face-to-face and then grow from there.
See, and I think that's kind of what I want to kind of slightly go into a little bit is significance. What you just said there. So you gained your own success, but significance is where now you're able to take what you learned and help others. And correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but just from obviously your voice, it sounds like you were juiced from helping that business owner going Facebook Live and taking that first step. Am I correct on that?
Oh, it was fantastic. Like, as soon as I saw the Facebook Live notification pop up, I was the first one in there. I was like, hey! I was like, awesome! Yes, I was so stoked, so excited. Like, I want to be whoever needs me. I want to be their cheerleader. I will be their hype woman. Like, I will be like, let's go get it. Like, whatever you need me to do, I am about it. Like, ride or die, let's go.
And so, and I'd love to hear your kind of your definition, if you will, because obviously you understand our podcast. There's so many people talk about success and achievement, and yet we see so many people at the end of their life, they don't end well. And that's why I'd love to hear your definition of, the difference between success and significance in your own life.
Honestly, success would be being able to still do what I'm doing, being able to take care of myself, my family, have money, and do things while working for myself. That is my goal. And then leaving something for my kids. Like, if they want to get involved and get into it and learn it and do that and bring them up, or if they want to start their own thing, that to me is my goal. Like, I could say I want to, have a ton of money, and I'd probably lie because I hate shopping anyways. But that is I want to live my life. Like, I want to every day wake up saying, man, like, what I did today, that was awesome. Like, that's just what I want to do, is just do that. And a lot of it, and it stems even before the military, like when I was growing up, but I know a lot of people have this, so I know I'm not the only one. But when I was growing up, I was like, you know what? I know that I'm going to make a difference in the world, whatever it is. Yeah. Like, I know that I am going to do something awesome, and I am going to, affect change. Like, it's going to happen. Now, whether it's for a ton of people or a few people, I am perfectly fine with either one. But that's what I want to do. I want to be able to continue helping people the same way when I put on my uniform. Like, when you take off your uniform, it changes a little bit because you're no longer, wearing this thing that people look at you and they're like, man, thank you for your service. Great job. Like, we know you're out there trying to, help us. Now it's like I got to put my face in front of them and be like, hey, I'm here. Like, if you need me, just let me know. So whatever it turns out to be, as long as I am following my passion and enjoying every single day and just going after it like that, if it changes along the way, great. I'll move in that direction, and I'm still going to kick butt, and I'm going to keep going. But it's just making sure that, I can keep doing what I want to do, and as long as I'm happy with it, I'm good.
Definitely, yeah. And I know, like, you just said something that, like, belief in yourself. You knew at a very young age that you were like, what, I'm going to do something great with my life. I'm going to be somebody someday. And, where did that, because I think some people struggle with that. They have some self-doubting beliefs, and I truly believe that there's so many dreams and so many goals and so many things that could have happened if someone believed in themselves or someone added value into, you know what I mean? And
right.
I think it's so incredible, and it's saddened to really imagine that, like how many dreams have died because nobody really believed in themselves. So I'm curious, where did you find that? Was there like a mentor that believed in you that said, you know what, you are better than, whatever? I'm just curious, or was that just always self? You were always ambitious, and you're like, you know what, I know, and I'm planting my flag. I'm curious your story behind that.
It was always there. It was always there. And this is like at the point when I was younger, and even like worse as far as, getting out there and putting, myself. I was always the school kid. Like no one ever had to help me with homework or anything. I loved reading. When I wasn't reading, I was rearranging my bedroom furniture. It was just like I was inside and I was in it. But even with, the inability to get out there and feel comfortable in front of people at that time and to meet, I just still knew. Like when I was younger, I was like, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to happen. Like it's going down. And it was just, then as I got older, I was like, oh, maybe it's like I did JROTC in high school. It's like, maybe it's the Army. And I got in the Army. I'm like, yes, this is good. But this isn't it. Like, this wasn't what I was thinking of. And then did college, got my master's and all that, and then had the kids. And I was like, man, this is even great. Like, everything just kept stacking. And I'm like, it's still there. Like, it's going, but there's still something more. Like, I have not reached it yet. Mm-hmm. Like, I still know. Like, even with everything that I have done with my life so far and everything that I've had, the chance to enjoy and to be a part of, I know that I'm not done yet. Like, there is still so much more. So it's still knowing, and maybe that's just what it is. Maybe it's just always knowing that there's more, so you continue to go after it. But, yeah, it was always there.
And then, so I'm curious, Heather, for those that maybe don't have that spark in them, that, weren't like you where you just, I knew this inside my heart and my bones and my soul, that this is who I am. I'm going out there and being somebody. What would you say to that person that doesn't have that, that would like to get that spark? Is there something that you think you would be able to say that would be able to, create that belief in themselves, if you will?
For me, what I would say is when it's at that level, because there's times where you can go in and out, I guess, from it. And when you do have the spark, sometimes it does go away. And I think the times for me when it goes away, and this is where I can kind of see it being, is that people are spending more time focusing on other people's dreams and not their own. They are following somebody else's path and not their own. So whatever they're attaching to as far as that's kind of where you can find your light dimming and your light not fully shining. Yes, we need to have people in our lives, but we need to make sure while they are in our life that we're not letting what they want overtake what we want. We need to be able to sit back and be like, okay, where do I want to go? And not to necessarily picture the end point, but to take that first step. And once you start taking that first step and you're like, man, this is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you get this energy, and then you take another step and you're like, okay, this is even better. And then next thing you know, something will click and you will find it. But I think when you spend a lot of your time focusing on what other people are doing and what other people want, that's kind of where you can't find what you want.
Boom, boom. And I appreciate that perspective because, how many times do we see people just comparing? And, I think social media has amplified that. However, though, if you are very confident in who you are in your own path, and you become, I guess, if you will, tunnel focused, where you focus only on your path and you don't focus on Billy Bob or June over here. You focus on the path that you have been given because there's only one path, and that's for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I get you on that, and my gracious, you are so true on that. You are so true on that. So then I'm curious, who do you know that I guess our audience should know? Like who else do you know that's like obviously helped you kind of take it to the next level? I know you mentioned Funnel Hacking Live, being around that environment, being around that atmosphere. I know that is a huge aspect. People understand the law of five, the five closest people. That's who you become. And, what other, whether groups or masterminds or, networking opportunities that you get involved with that kind of help you elevate to the next level?
I would have to say, the closest one, so yeah, Funnel Hacking, Russell Brunson, all of that. Gary Vaynerchuk, I do watch his content a lot. I do, like to read what he puts out there. It's a lot of content, so it's hard to keep up with everything that he puts out. But on a more closer personal level, my best friend, somebody that I happen to find, luckily, in one of those meetup groups when our boys were 6 months old, and now they're 11, and we've been best friends ever since. We have lived right around the corner. She is, her name is Natalie Villafane. You can find her on LinkedIn. She is my person that, especially with me starting my own company, was even more as far as supportive. Like, we sit down and when we talk things out, it just happens. Like, we just have conversations. She's very big on increasing your vibration and kind of following your path and your dreams. So when I talk to her, that definitely sets it for me. Team Red, White, and Blue is also a big one. I'm very close with the local Orlando chapter. There are chapters everywhere. So if you're veteran or civilian, we like everybody. Team Red, White, and Blue is very big on physical and social activity. So the people in these groups, it's almost like when I was in the military. It's just a hodgepodge of everybody. Like, you're not like limiting yourself to a specific type of person. You have people that are retired, people that have done this, done that, people that are still working, the parents, like, everybody is there. And I think everybody experiences different things. So although I like specific groups with specific niches every now and then, I think having an eclectic group is a little bit more beneficial for me, because then what I'm trying to do, I then can, talk to somebody else that has nothing to do with it. Like, half the time they have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that's the best person to talk to. Like, the one that has no clue what you do when you say it, that's the best person to talk to, because that's what you're trying to, get to, is to be able to speak to it to a point to where everybody, that person can understand it. And then there's different Facebook groups. Like, I like hanging around with some of the moms. So, like, the boss moms and part-time CEO, being in some groups with some very strong women. I can say, like, I love being a part of that as well. Sometimes it's not as intimidating, or, the comments are a little bit different. It's a different vibe. Don't get me wrong, being in a group with the men and everything as well. But I think, for women to be able to connect without the men sometimes is very empowering, because we don't hide as much. A lot of women are more forceful in those groups. They speak up, and when you hear them speak, it is a beautiful thing, because women do a lot, and they do a lot at the same time. So we handle a lot, and we kind of share how we handle a lot and our methods to our madness, and it really does help me out.
Yeah, and see, and that's, I appreciate you bringing that up, because obviously with and I think this is very well known, specifically women, there's a lot of stress that they are under. And what I mean by specifically younger women, in the social media age, it's come up with a lot of, identity issues, if you will, where, they're not comfortable with who they are, or their body, or who they, And I'm curious, obviously you have a younger daughter. And, you obviously are, those conversations obviously develop, if you will. And I'm curious, what things you guys put in place to help her kind of acknowledge who she is, and she doesn't compare herself. Coming back to what you said earlier, making sure the path that is set for you, and you cannot compare yourself to others in that negative concept, because of course that will lead down, paths that you don't want to be led down. So I'm curious, in kind of keeping those boundaries and balances for your daughter, and obviously, like you just mentioned, for women themselves.
Honestly, when it comes to her, I've been pretty blessed. She has confidence galore when it comes to her, and she is her own person, and she does not even she doesn't compare. She's like, I am great, I am the bomb, I am fabulous, I don't even care what people think, say whatever, I am me. And I don't know if that's because ever since they were little, because I grew up with issues, our generation, we grew up at a point where we had, even with no social media, we had issues. Like, we were very self-confident. We were very self-conscious. Mm-hmm. And we would compare ourselves, and all these new things are going on. If you didn't have these nice things, your parents didn't do these things, and your friends on vacation, where are you going? I grew up with those issues. So ever since they were little, it's been nothing but love. Love all around. letting them know no matter what they are loved, even in every conversation. Like, what, even if they get bad grades, and that's my biggest thing with her. I guess if she's worried if she gets bad grades, like I'm very fearful if she ever gets a bad grade because she holds herself to a high standard when it comes to that. And I've tried to tell her, listen, it's okay. Like, I need you to be okay if you ever get into a class where you get a bad grade. But it's just letting them know that I can only help them if they talk to me. That I will always be there for them no matter what. And I never want them to feel like they can't speak to me about something because if I don't know what's going on with them, I can't help them. No matter what it is in life, big, small, whatever it is. So they've always been pretty comfortable just coming to me with stuff, which I've been very lucky, even some things that I wish they would talk to their dad about. But they come to me for stuff anyways. And we just sit down and we address it. We keep it very comfortable. I am very open with them. I don't sugarcoat. I don't hide. I call things what they are. I don't make up names for it. I don't try to, go around. They learn so much these days from their cell phones, from social media, from people in their schools that I would be doing them a disservice if I did not think that they already knew stuff. Now, of course, when they ask me questions, I'm like, what do you think it is? Before I actually answer it. I try to get a feel for, what they think, things are, certain words and certain things. Yes. But, no, they've grown up pretty freaking confident, which I must say that I love, and I'm going to keep pushing them for that. And, they know what I feel is appropriate and inappropriate behavior for online activities. They do know that I check that, but I just make sure that they know that I just want it because I feel like they should be respectful of themselves. They should love themselves. And no matter what, they haven't even tried to post anything bad in any way, shape that I've ever noticed. And all their activity has been through the roof for me. And even sometimes conversations that I'll hear with a friend that'll go home crying because somebody called them a name and my daughter will have them on speaker. And my daughter's like, but that's not who you are. So why don't even listen to them? Let them call you whatever they want. She was like, you know who you are. So don't get mad about it. And I was just I was almost in tears. I'm like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful conversation.
Well, that is awesome because it sounds like you have a whole a house full of world changer, right? Changers. Because I'm
hoping
to have an individual that young that has that high self-image, if you will, and know who they are and that character. That's really incredible. Because even myself, I know that the negativity out there sometimes is overwhelming, and obviously, we all can get down in our depths a little bit. So that's really cool. Now, I kind of switched it up because I know we've talked a lot of different subjects and we're just jumping all over the place, but I think it's so valuable. I really appreciate it. Who would you say is one of your mentors? I know you mentioned one of your friends, and maybe she was the one that kind of just always someone to bounce off, but someone that's a mentor. And I'm curious, what's your definition of a mentor or a mentorship, if you will?
I'm gonna be cheesy with this one. It was my mom. Oh, nice. And I think a lot of it's hard to say, unless there's that kind of relationship that doesn't work out. As far as that, sometimes there aren't really good parent-kid relationships, but when they are good, I think your parents are the first driving factor. Your parents are really what will make you believe in yourself and to that kind of just get out there and just do it. Growing up, my mom, and this was before, we had dial-up and we did all these things. She was so cute in the kitchen and she tried, she was a stay-at-home mom. And she worked very hard with us at home. And eventually she wanted to try to start her own company. She tried multiple things. My little brother was deaf. So she tried coming up, with these magnets that you would put on the car to let people know that it's a deaf driver. And she had this great needle cool recipe that she would make these needle cool at home, and then she actually would package them and try to sell them to the stores. So just watching her go through that and try to push it, that's really what started, me seeing what people are capable of if they really want it. And then even once I had kids, she was always there. And as far as you just do whatever you want, Heather. Whatever you want, I have your back. Let's go. she passed away, like, she had cancer for a while. So when she passed away, there was looking back on certain things that I wish I would have done with her that I didn't get to do. Because, yes, I had times where I was deployed. I was also, once I got back, I was still not very comfortable where I wanted to go out and be very active. I had 2 kids. I was exhausted. Yeah. And every time I would see her, she'd be like, let's go do this, let's go. And there were so many times where I was like, no, can we just, like, be at home and do this or do this? And I just realized that I don't want to have that looking back of I didn't do anything, or there was something that I wish I would have done. So having her in my life and going through all of those different stages with her made me really know that, to be true to myself, I don't want to have any regrets. And every day she has there's a picture up right behind my desk of my mom. So she's watching me, and I sometimes randomly, when something cool happens at work, or work-wise, I honestly forget, and I go to pick up the phone and call her before I realize, that I can't. Yes. And that's how excitable, like, she was my best friend. She was the first person I would call, even when I was married. I was like, sorry, honey, I already told my mom. So that was her for me. And then now it's just my group of friends that I have the privilege to surround myself with. I only have people that I see on a constant basis. I can put on my hand. Like, I have 5 people that I really give my time to. Mm-hmm. One of them is my sister. I have my best friend, and then I have another best friend. Like my groups have, like, merged together to where we all hang out with each other. My business partner, and then it comes like another friend of mine, like, where our kids are friends, and we just spend a lot of time. And for me, it's more of I get to see what she's going through, and I try to help get her to the next stage. Yeah. So those 5 people, like, that's like you said it before, you surround yourself with your people, and it might change as you change, and you just kind of bob and weave with it. But this has been pretty consistent for me, and I just keep them around. And even on days when I'm working, on my stuff, and they're working on their stuff, we're sitting at tables nearby each other, and we have that energy, and we just feed off of each other, and that's really what keeps me going these days.
That's so cool to hear. That it's kind of humbling a little bit, isn't it, to think that one woman has had an impact to this effect. Your mother had an impact with you, and you obviously had an impact with your daughter, and so forth and so on. And just that one little, light bulb, if you will, that one flame that kind of lit and keeps going. That's really, really inspiring, if you will. That's awesome. So then, for those that don't understand the power of mentorship, if you will, what would you say to those that say, I don't need someone, relationship and all that. I don't need someone to, definitely men. I find men are not open as much as women are. And I always, which is understandable, but also I do understand that, like you mentioned as well, women can't be open as much either, and so we're at this kind of odds. And to have a full mentor, you really have to be very open, and it's very humbling because they know all your weaknesses. And I'm just curious, to hone in on that, because obviously your mother, she knew you, right? She fully knew you, right. And to get the most out and say the right thing in the right time, because she knew the whole picture. What would you say to those that don't value or don't understand the power of mentorship?
I would probably say that they probably have a mentor and they don't even know it. Because it's a relationship. Like how you're saying, it's that connection. And when you are out and about and you're working and you're doing things, you're making these connections. Now, it might be a friend of yours, and you don't think of them as a mentor, but what you're getting from them and what they're feeding you and all that, like, they could be your mentor, but you just don't think of it in that relationship. There's somebody that you have in your life that you have this connection with that you go to. No matter what. Like, you have it. Like, it is there, and it's just how you decide you want to use that relationship. Now, if you're not opening up as much and you have that person in your life, I just say give it a go. Like, what do you got to lose? Yeah. It's going to be beneficial for both parties in a relationship, because I think the mentor benefits everybody that you're building up along the way as well. It should be this mad path of like, oh my God, it's this mentor with this mentee, and now this mentee is a mentor with this, and it should just continue on forever. And everybody should just be grabbing the next person down the road and be like, listen, you are an amazing person. Let's go on this journey. And if this is the right path for you, stick it out with me. If what I'm doing, if it's not the connection, just go find somebody else. I won't be afraid. Like, I'm not gonna get mad, you know, because not everyone's going down the same path. Like, I've had coaches and stuff before that I've spent some time with, and eventually you realize that their path is different than yours, or you work differently, you're not making that connection, and you just part ways and you move on, which is fine. Yeah. I think everybody should be very comfortable with speaking about how they feel in those situations. But yes, like, you have a mentor. It is even if it's an online one that you've never met before, that you're following on their social media, you're reading what they're putting out there, you might be commenting, communicating back and forth. There's somebody out there that you are learning from. Yeah. Just know that they're there for you, and get more comfortable with asking for help. And then take all of that and grab somebody. Well, don't physically grab them, but you know, help out somebody else and bring them up, and then just keep the path going.
And I think a lot of people miss that second part, which you just said, is grab someone else, not physically, but grab someone
right.
else and bring them along with you. And that's where you really are able to grow the biggest as well. My gracious, you know, and I want to leave it there because that was an excellent way to end it. You know, Heather, I really appreciate, you know, your time. And if you don't mind, just tell our audience where they can find you and follow you and just keep engaged with you.
Oh man, so it's at the Heather Hargrove, so HARGROVE, pretty much on all platforms except for Twitter, because I apparently couldn't make it for that one. And I'm not really on Twitter that much. Don't tell Gary V, he's gonna get upset. But it's I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I'm on Instagram, Facebook as well. I do have a Facebook group that I have a bunch of my entrepreneur friends with, where we're actually learning TikTok together. And they're starting to post, which I'm so excited about. So we have that as well. And then Infinite Potential Clothing. And yeah, you can hello at Bygrove, that's BYGROVE.com if you're better at email and you have any questions. Just reach out and let me know.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is where you find Heather. Obviously, you just from the time that we spent with her, she's obviously a very passionate woman that's a go-getter that can really help you kind of take your life to the next level. And again, Heather, I really appreciate your time. And we definitely, hopefully we can have you on again and just talking a little bit more about some of the most powerful things that you've been through. So thank you so much, Heather.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate you having me. This is great.